more important as we shift towards chronic therapy, especially in things like
and why there is a sudden shift towards
train, brand managers. And during the break, I was just talking.
When we talk about patient-centric and just to...
And now comes the highly anticipated segment of our event today. And the topic on the table is patient-centric care. Is it a genuine shift or just a buzzword in pharma? So how many of you all think that it is a buzzword in pharma? Patient-centric care. Do you think it's a buzzword? No, none of us think that way. Of course, we consider it to be a general shift. However, it's a highly debatable topic, and for that, we have a distinguished set of panelists who will be discussing on this topic. And over the last few years, patient-centric care has emerged as a term frequently echoed across boardrooms, clinical discussions, and healthcare campaigns. But is this shift as significant as it sounds, or merely a strategic label? Today we are here to dive deep into these questions and uncover the truth behind this trend. To lead this engaging and insightful debate, we have a distinguished panel with us. Each of our speakers brings unique expertise and experience that are sure to challenge conventional thinking and inspire new insights. Please give a warm welcome to our panelists. Ms. Vaidya, General Manager at Business Operation Groups, Lupin. Ms. Madhuri Jambhale, the Senior Manager of Marketing, Cipla Limited. And Mr. Girdhar Balwani, the Independent Director at Kerala Pharmaceuticals. May I request you all to kindly join the panel? And the moderator for this is Mr. Varun Belgudri, the Associate Director of Sales at Wolters Kluwer. Starting off with Ms. Pandya Vaidya. She is an accomplished and result-driven leader with over 19 years of experience in the pharmaceutical industry. She has proven track record in strategic planning, operational excellence, and driving organizational growth. Currently, she is the General Manager of Business Operations Group at Lupin, and previously, she has worked at Abbott and Ipca Laboratories. A warm welcome to you, ma'am. Ms. Madhuri Jambhale is a seasoned marketing professional with over 20 years of impactful experience, renowned for her result-oriented approach. She excels in developing and executing strategic marketing plans that drive success. Currently, she is the Senior Manager of Marketing at Cipla Limited, and previously, she has worked at Glenmark, Aristo, and VHB Life Sciences. Welcome to you, Ms. Madhuri. And the moderator for this session is Mr. Varun Belgudri. He is a seasoned professional with over 15 years of rich experience in B2B sales, business development, account management, product management, service delivery and execution. Currently the Associate Director of Sales at Wolters Kluwer. Over to the panel. Thank you.
In the previous panel, we did hear a lot about patient-centric approaches and patient-centric care. I think, having said that, is this, and we'll start off with this particular question and 2 minutes for everybody to chime in. Is this a genuine shift or people just look at it as a buzzword? Where do you think this is in the current scheme of things?
Thanks, Varun, and thank you for specifying that we have only 2 minutes to answer this. So when we talk about patient centricity, I believe patient centricity has always been there because the industry which we are, pharmaceutical, which primarily is because of the patients. So it was always there. What has been updated as patient centricity is patient-centric care. And why there is a sudden shift towards patient care and why is it so much spoken? Because I primarily feel because of 3 reasons. Number 1, shift towards chronic. If you look at the trend of therapeutic markets, if you look at the therapy trend of last 10 years, in top 10 therapies in 10 years, only 2 therapies have gained salience. One is anti-diabetes and one is cardiovascular. So anti-infective was number 1 therapy in 2015. Currently cardiology is number 1 therapy. And anti-diabetes is amongst the top 5 therapy. Chronic care requires most of the patient support program That is why it is a buzzword and it is there to stay, because the cases and the incidences of chronic market and the therapy is likely to increase. Number 2 is change in regulatory framework. Now we all know the changes which took place and how UCPMP is becoming mandated and the clause inclusion of 194R. Now what extra can you do for a customer service? We can take care of their customer who is patient. Although patient centricity or care which was there, but that much weightage was not given earlier. Especially I feel after implementation of UCPMP, it has become more relevant. Because how do we support our doctors? As our previous panel also someone was discussing that if someone is taking insulin for the first time, he is not aware that how to take that insulin. So how do we give that assistance? That is actually a service to a customer. Someone who's taking inhalers, they do not know the right technique to use the inhalers. So if we are educating and supporting patients, that is a biggest service or could be a biggest strategic lever in our HCP management. And third change which has happened is digital penetration. Today, I think Prasad sir was talking about urban and rural digital penetration. At India level, currently our digital penetration is 54.2%. That means half of our population is accessing digital, they have access to that. So I think these 3 levers are primarily driving the patient-centric care model in pharma industry, and it is there to stay.
Interesting thought. I think that chronic angle, making it more relevant for patient-centric approaches, I guess.
So I agree with Viral. I mean, it's always been about patient centricity. If I look at the environment for the last several decades, it's always been patient-centric. I don't know whether you mean by patient centricity from the point of view of a pharma marketeer, or whether from the point of view of a doctor, or of course from a retailer. But it's always been patient-centric. So I don't think it's a buzzword. I think it's always been about patient centricity. But if you see from the pharma marketeer point of view, earlier it was the doctor who was most important. Pharma companies did not much care about the patient. It was only a part of the detailing practice. When they're talking to a doctor, they're talking about a patient, but they didn't have that in the top of their mind. And what Viral mentioned is about, this chronic versus acute. I think the patient centricity becomes more important as we shift towards chronic therapy, especially in things like diabetes and hypertension.
Interesting. I think one of the things that you mentioned, that maybe the patient-centric thing is getting more formalized as an approach versus an informal, which was always the centricity.
Yeah, even I agree. So good evening, everyone. First and foremost, thanks to the Pharma State Academy, actually, for giving me this opportunity to participate in this Pharma ENEGMA. It's a wonderful platform for the next gen, brand managers. And during the break, I was just talking to my ex-colleagues, this opportunity was not there when, during our brand manager time. And it's a wonderful platform. Why I must say? Because it's like, from your routine work, you get some time to interact with your peer colleagues and to learn from them. So I hope they should continue with these platforms. Coming back to this question about this patient centricity, what I feel in the recent times, I have seen the healthcare industry, it has been shifted, towards this patient centricity because of many reasons. The first and foremost reason, it is like, where the patients, they have gotten access to a lot of information, to the lot of resources. And now this patients, they are taking care of themselves, to this value-based care, to this personalized medication, and to this patient engagement programs. And that is a reason which has, pushed the pharma marketeers also to look after, the patient-centric initiatives. In fact, Viral, I would add on to one more point, it's just not the chronic, the cardio-diabetes segment, but it's even the anti-infective segment also, which is looking forward, for this patient-centric initiatives. Now, this, other than the diabetes and the stroke, ENEGMA, that's an antimicrobial resistance. It's one of the this for the mortality, actually. And now for this upcoming AMR week, which is there in the month of November, we as an organization, supply, we are also looking forward for a lot of patient-centric initiatives. There are a lot of initiatives, on the website, for the mass awareness about this antimicrobial resistance we are taking care of. So it's just not left to the cardio-diabetic, but it's even the anti-infective and even the super specialties like onco and immunology.
It has always been there. It was a pioneer, and that is where it actually started. What is actually facilitating the patient support programs or PSP to further grow, that the overall ecosystem has become very collaborative now. Because of digitalization, the upgradation of digitalization, there is infrastructure which is available which will support these PSP program, which will link all these stakeholders, which will facilitate the relevant analytics out of it, and further how do we improvise. So definitely it is going to be there. Acute, definitely, because see, it is 65% of the market is acute, but it is a 1 week therapy or 15 days therapy or a 1 month therapy. But the weightage which is there in the chronic will definitely be higher, because there we are managing patient for a much longer time.
Correct.
It has lot of coexisting comorbid conditions are much higher. Definitely it is there. But the chronic will always outweigh the requirement to manage as a therapy.
Yeah, absolutely. And there are two more reasons, why this pharma marketeers are now moving towards the patient centricity. As you mentioned, in the acute, there is a lot of competition in terms of, sometimes we are not able to fight with this pricing war, actually, okay? So the differentiation in terms of this patient-centric initiatives, it's something an add-on advantage, for the pharma marketeers. So they differentiate from the rest of the competitors. So that is one thing. And the second one, the most important, which we look after, is the patient adherence. Now there is a brand plans, the upcoming brand plan sessions, where we spend a lot of time in the patient adherence. And patient adherence, it is something, which it's very difficult, especially for the chronic therapies. So where I tell my marketing team, to actually collect those patient insights, and we spend a lot of time on the patient journey mapping, and this patient-centric initiatives definitely help us out. Sometimes I tell my team, to spend a lot of time just to sit with the doctors. Sometimes if to take proper care, sit in an ICU, spend a lot of time, just look at the movements around, what's happening in an ICU, in a ward, and just try to understand what's happening. Based on those insights, you can design a lot of patient-centric initiatives, which in turn will help you for the patient adherence. So I just feel that, it's healthcare is moving towards this initiatives.
This is quite interesting, right? I think the way patient centricity, the way you described, I do want to take a little bit of step back and think beyond marketing. And Madhuri, this is to you as well. This is to you specifically. So when you're trying to achieve this patient centricity, how do you cross-functionally collaborate? So marketing is one, perhaps R&D, does it play a role? Does medical affairs play a role?
Yes.
Look, if you can just elaborate that.
Yeah, so cross-collaboration is very, very important, especially in those patient-centric initiatives. The first and foremost, when we collect these insights, okay, now ideally, as per there are a lot of, even Viral also mentioned, there are a lot of regulations and a lot of guidelines. We are not supposed to use this patient insights directly into the campaigns, directly into the promotional items, okay? Then how do we collect also this insight? Because we are not supposed to be in touch directly with the patients also then in that case, okay? So then we collaborate through the third parties, okay, even through the NGOs. There are a lot of agencies who work on this and try to help us out to get this patient insights. Now, once we get this insights, okay, we give it to the R&D who actually develop, work on it to develop the proper medicines and all, okay, so that we have effective treatment and the safety measures. And plus there is always the medical team where we collaborate with them. So to ensure that it's always being, referred, there is a proof for the clinical efficacy. Okay, so we generally collaborate with so many teams, with the R&D, with the medical, okay, and the most important, it's with the compliance and the legal team, because whenever we are using this patient insights, okay, whenever we are designing this patient-centric initiatives, it's always important, that we coordinate with the legal and with the compliance team. There are many such, she mentioned about the UCPMP guidelines, but then there's always, there's one more, that's a Drug and Magic Remedies Act also, which doesn't allow us, to directly be in touch with this patients, okay. So these are certain teams, where we coordinate. Apart from this, the most important, it is the digital team also, because when we ensure that the patient-centric initiatives, there has to be a consistent message. It should go down the line to the patients. So here the digital team, I have the PR and the omni-channel team who keeps on helping me, to give a consistent, to pass on those consistent communications throughout down the line, through the field, to the doctors and directly to the patients. So these are the teams. And the fourth most important is always my SFE team. Why? Because at the end, we have to track this thing. We have to monitor, the results. And these are the teams who keep on helping us out.
This is so, I think the way you described it, it seems that, from the insights, it's going and feeding into all the different departments coming together to create a consistent
and
message.
Now there's AI in place, the real world data in place, So we have to keep on coordinating with this different agencies. There are many agencies also who work on to this. They provide such platforms. Apart from this, we have our in-house, the digital teams. We have the SFE omni-channel teams who help us and collaborate.
Interesting. I think at the same broad level, and this is a question to you, Girdhar sir. So, where do you think? So, while you talked about patient was always at the center, continues to be at the center, and is becoming a little bit maybe formalized. Do you think this could potentially not be in line with the way business targets are, or with respect to diluting any brand loyalty when you are going through this? At times, what might be good for the patient might not be good for the brand. How do you balance this out? Or is there a balance, or is always patient?
I think there is a balance. There has always been the patient, and I don't see how they are contradictory to each other. Ultimately, what are we all in this business about? And I try to not use the word pharmaceutical industry, I say healthcare. If you broaden the scope to saying healthcare, and instead of saying patient, you say customer. If you say customer centricity in the broad framework of healthcare, ultimately what are we talking about? We've all been patients probably at some point of our lives. What is the fundamental thing? You want to get better. And I think now the whole ecosystem is so much evolving. And I'm talking about myself, I get exposed to so much on media that, and I wanted to ask that question to Dr. Sanjay, is I am actually trying to move away from treatment. I am trying to move towards a lifestyle change to be able to do preventive care of myself. And I get so many messages, about what to eat, what not to eat, exercise, blah, blah. And it's all about customer centricity in the sense of having a healthier life. And that's the whole ecosystem is working like that. I was prescribed a medicine recently. I went on an e-pharmacy and I put the medicine name. Immediately, there were, I don't know how many pop-ups. Instead of this medicine, you get the same ingredient, for a much cheaper price. This is lifestyle. You can order this special diet supplements. Everything works around you. As a patient, I say the whole environment is working towards my benefit. And I'm saying that I need to change my lifestyle. If I'm a diabetic or if I'm a hypertensive, I need to do the following. I need to go away from medicines. So I feel very happy that it is all about me as a patient. And I think that's where this world is evolving.
That's such an interesting insight. And, talking about digital, I think this is one place where there is a opportunity for the patient to be at the center beyond a particular company's agenda. I think perhaps at a much broader level.
I'll give you an example of my nephew in California. He's a type 1 diabetic. He hardly goes to the doctor. He's got an insulin pump here. He's got a CGM monitor here. Both interact with each other on Bluetooth. Whenever his blood sugar goes down, insulin is pumped in. So the whole environment, science, everything is evolving towards making a better health or better lifestyle for a patient.
Interesting. So I have a question for you, Viral. And I think because you come from the business operations standpoint as well, I think, when we talk about patient-centric and just to ensure that it continues and becomes scalable, perhaps even also sustainable, how do you bring all this together?
See, Varun, first and foremost, to be sustainable, it has to be aligned to the business goal. Because all these projects which are initiated by the teams are a cost to the company, which is directly not generating revenue. So first and important thing that all the strategies which we are designing should be adhered or allied to the overall or corporate objective, which will facilitate them to generate revenue. Very important, it has to be from the top management should have that drive to run the program. It cannot be bottom up. It should be an objective of a top management. And as Vivek was also mentioning in his previous session that two brand managers, they don't talk to each other. We are working in silos. Patient support program as such should be a corporate initiative. Imagine that you are using Amazon as an app and each category has a different app. How difficult and cumbersome it will become. That for electronic you go to Amazon E, for apparels you go to Amazon A. It becomes quite cumbersome. For presently, we try to aggregate it at therapy level, but somewhere it is so cumbersome at HCP level. You imagine, he has to remember 3-4 PSP names which he'll recommend to his patient. Forget about therapies. Within the therapies, there are brand managers. I think Madhuri will be able to resonate. Each brand manager during the brand plan will come up with her own app, with their own patient support program, because that is something new. They have to add something to their strategy to it. So number one, align to the overall strategic goal of what is the organizational goal. What is the vision and mission of the organization? If I am looking at that, if market IPM currently is growing at say 8.5%, and organization goal is to grow at 12%, how do I partner with the overall business that is going to bring that delta of 3%? Whatever initiative, whether it is patient support program, monitoring patients, reaching out to the doctor, everything has to be aligned to the corporate goal. Only then it will be sustainable. And as a model, if you say, it has to be embedded around the 3 A's. Number one, when it all started, it was about awareness. As Sir was also mentioning that if he's searching on any e-pharmacy website, he gets a pop-up that there's an alternate which is available. You can do a lifestyle modification, which talks more from the awareness point of view. Number two is assistance. Now currently when we talk about many therapies, cardiovascular therapy per se has adherence of only 40 to 60%. That means there's a scope, there's a chances that my 40 to 60% on the flip side are not adhering to therapy. If you correlate this to business, that means even if a medical rep has generated a prescription which patient initially bought, but he is not adhering to it, that directly translates into your business loss. It has to be part of that strategy. And number third is adherence. So awareness, assistance and adherence. These three will form a core of any program. And now how do we scale it forward? So now with coming technology like AI is there, how are we actually utilizing that data to make patient feel as n equal to 1? As Sir was saying that it feels so good that everything is tailored around me. I know it is specifically for me. The data analytics which is getting generated from this, how do we utilize to give it a predictive analytics, to give nudges to patient? Currently it is quite prevalent in diabetes, that it will say that your levels, sugar level have come down, you have to take, have you taken your medicine, what is your weight, are you missing out onto your doses? But how do we further improvise those nudges where patient feel that everything, all the suggestions which are coming is n is equals to 1. It is not a general feedback which is coming after. So there has to be incentivization. If I am feeding onto any app that I have taken my medicine at 10 a.m., my weight is this much, my doctor has prescribed, my all other vitals stands at this particular level, and there is a pop-up which comes, you're doing great, or probably something which you did not do it right, you have to do it. So to be scalable and sustainable, to summarize it, number 1, align to business goal. Number 2, these programs has to be driven by top management. Number 3, and very important, try to limit your proliferating into number of interventions. We should have a corporate program which runs through. We cannot have brand level interventions. Otherwise, we will not be able to do a branding. We have to turn a brand out of it. And stick to the 3A model and keep evolving.
Interesting. I think that is such a comprehensive answer. And just building on to that, Viral, because you talked about top management, are there any KPIs that you have in? I think the previous panel also did touch upon a little bit, but if a top management has to buy into such a program, you talked about business goals alignment. I mean, what are the KPIs that you would plant or, let's say, have in your business case?
So, Varun, whenever we start such PSP programs, irrespective of therapy, your bosses, super bosses, they will ask you only one question: कितने patients को enroll किया? That is the foremost important KPI, that how many patients you are reaching, how many are enrolling. To remain it sustainable, the most important is that how many are MAUs, how many are monthly active users, what is their engagement score. They have downloaded the app, they viewed it once, but are they engaged? Are they utilizing it? And how are we closing that loop? How are we using that analytics? Later we can build on to what is the patient satisfaction score, what is the HCP satisfaction score. And we are generating huge quantum of data in this entire process. You know, gone those days, as Madhuri was saying, when we were brand managers, we did not have that much data available to formulate or tailor-made our strategies. Now there's so much data available. How are we exactly utilizing this? And how is it generating into revenue? Are we utilizing it in a better manner? Only these KPIs. So first and foremost, number of patient enrolled and what is their engagement rate, what exactly they are viewing. And see, one very important thing which I forgot to mention. Morning while I was coming here, I was just talking to my husband and I said that, you know, we are going to talk about patient centricity. He said, no, I will never allow my family to add any information onto such online media because you're passing on too many information. What you are eating, what is your weight, what are you purchasing, everything. And which is right also. So when we have to make this program sustainable and scalable, we have to give that assurance to our HCPs as well as to patient that data security is in place. You must be aware in today's era, the biggest threat is image cloning, voice cloning. There has been so many instances of digital arrest cases are so high on, instances are so high that our Prime Minister had to come online on air and say that there's nothing as digital arrest. So there is, on other hand, there are a lot of use which is there, but we have to ensure that your data is not getting misused. There is proper governance, data governance which is available. There's a proper framework which is available. That is very important to embed into the overall PSP programs.
That's a very good thought. I think, Viral, beyond what you mentioned from a business goal alignment, I think all of these are taking care of patient and so that they are adhering to all of this and finally benefiting through these programs. One thing, I think continuing on a similar track, and this is a question to you, Girdhar sir. So, especially when it comes to empowering patients with some of these this kind of information, what are your thoughts on this particular space, especially when it comes to decision making? The example that you spoke, you get quite a bit of pop-ups also coming. Apart from the drug that you're buying, you want to purchase certain health supplements, and so this is in your face, in front of the patient's face, right? So What do you think, what are the thoughts because of this growing trend? Do you see that as a boon, bane? How do you balance? Is there a what do you say, a way to do this in a proper manner?
So I think it's a boon. I mean, there was a time when I went off diabetes medication for 3 years, purely out of lifestyle modification. I couldn't sustain it, that's another matter. But it's a boon. And I still tend to want to go back and make changes in my lifestyle. I have access to diagnostic measures, all these things keep coming to you. Because I'm diabetic, and I think the system, like she was talking about data protection, I think when your husband, touch wood, he'll always be healthy. But if tomorrow you need it, then you'll say, okay, I don't mind if the world knows I have diabetes, but I'm getting a lot of inputs from the environment which help me to manage my disease better. So I think it's a boon.
Thank you, Girdhar sir. I think, having said that, I think one question to Madhuri, and now we'll focus back to the pharma marketing agenda. Over here, if you can talk about what do you think specifically marketing departments, and I think you have touched base a little bit, but now with the lens of, let's say it's a marketeer in a smaller company versus a larger company, what do you think can happen? And should some people be leaders? Should some people be trend followers? Or do you think it's a mix and match? Yeah.
So it's irrespective whether it's a smaller or a bigger company. I mean, these acts, they are applicable to each and every pharma companies. So the few points which I would like to emphasize on it. One is about the data privacy, which even Viral and Girdhar sir was speaking about it. See, there is this data privacy act, okay, and as per this act, we are not supposed to collect the insights, the patient insights. We are not supposed to use this in the campaigns. In fact, when you save it in the laptop also, you're supposed to save it in the two different Excel. The ROI, the business and these patient insights should not be saved in one file. So this is something which the pharma marketers, they should be aware about it. Second most important about the advertising regulations also. Many of them, they are aware about it, but still, we are not supposed to do any brand promotions, when we are doing this patient-centric campaigns. Okay, so there should be no branding, nowhere. You can just mention it as an academic partner, so and so organization. Okay, but no in-clinic, no branding, nothing is being allowed. The third thing, when you're collecting this insights also, ensure that you're going via the HCPs, okay? Even if you're doing, like we do a lot of anemic camps, we do a lot of orthopedic camps, asthma camps, okay? There's all these campaigns, even the patient support programs also, whichever we do it, for the oncology, for immunology teams, okay? We all do it through the HCPs, okay? So these are certain, as per the ethical guidelines, we are not supposed to be in touch with directly with the patients, which ideally this market they should be aware about it. The last one more point, there are somewhere which I read, there are 4 C's also which are being applicable for this patient-centric initiatives. Like the contact instance, generally, the patient and the HCP, whenever they're in touch with the discussion, ensure that you're in touch with the, you're in contact with the HCP, so you can get those patient insights and you can apply it, for designing those initiatives. So contact, then coordinate, ensure that you keep on coordinating with the different teams, okay? It has to be consistent, okay? Say, for example, you design one initiative, it should not be only for one time or, ensure that it has to be consistent at least for 2 to 3 years down the line, so that at least you can get to see this impact. You won't see the impact immediately after designing one particular campaign. So let it be, consistent, and it has to be a comprehensive. Just don't think about your medicines and all, but ensure that, it has to be a comprehensive package. Like say, for example, many marketers, they're also working on the nutritional support programs also. Okay, my team is working on the companion diagnostics also, where we are partnering with the microbiology labs and all, and we are working indirectly for the patients. So these are certain things which the marketers, they should be aware about it.
Both Cipla and Lupin have got excellent patient apps. you know. Right. And I think they work wonderfully. I don't know why both of them, neither of them mentioned it.
Yeah. So even this website for this, we are designing that AMR website, okay? So that is also not specifically the AMR website. We are going via, you know, the CIPLA organization, this website. So where we can highlight about the patient education initiatives.
So you're not supposed to talk about your, it's all in the public domain, so.
So when we talk about these 3 A's, you know, when we're talking about assistance, so assistance is not just limited to about that medicine. It is also about how to prevent, diet counseling. So talking about Lupin's PSP program, the diabetes program which we have, soon we'll be having 1 lakh patients on that, and it's not even a 1-year-old PSP. Yeah. And it's very comprehensive, the kind of nudges that it is giving. So it is basically built on that 3A model. We are giving them awareness. We are giving them assistance. So all this diet patient, there is also financial assistance, not in terms of giving them money, but sponsoring therapies for certain period. And also it ensures the adherence because it is tracking for them that whether they've taken medicines or not, or they are skipping on to anything.
It's an excellent idea.
Yeah.
That's...
I need to be.
Yeah.
No.
All right. Maybe may I take a couple minutes, one last question for you. So I think because you're a veteran from this particular space, do you feel regulatory environment has a play to shape these patient-centric initiatives? Is there something that goes on in your mind so that it's done right, it's done in the right way?
So that question will always remain, you know, I mean, there will always be in this world, and there have always been in this world, there are some people, and especially Indians are famous for doing jugaad, of trying, I mean, you talked about UCPMP and all, there are people who will find ways around it. Yes. But I think everyone has to be guided by their own principles, and I think that's very important, and all these are well-respected companies, and I think they do it right. You know, during lunch we were talking about how, you know, some companies have evolved through CRM activities, which was more inclined towards getting money rather than being patient-centric. But I think the world is moving in that direction. I think it's becoming a more transparent world, and I think everything is going in the right direction.
Perfect. So, thanks.
I'm an optimist, even though I'm a veteran, like you said.
Yeah. I think thanks, Girdhar, and I will summarize in the end.
So do I leave or you want to finish?
I think there is one last question to one of the panelists, and then we conclude it, if you don't mind. So, Viral, this is a question to you. I think this is trying to take the entire focus now 5 years down the line. And do you think this kind of approaches are going to evolve in the next 5 years? And what kind of challenges and opportunities that you see?
Certainly it is going to evolve the way it has evolved till now. Definitely it is going to evolve. The opportunities which we have is integrating AI and Gen AI. How are we making it more useful? Because generative AI is a very beautiful thing. ChatGPT will not give you medically vetted. It is only giving you what is available in open source. If we can incorporate generative AI into our PSP programs, which is vetted by medical team, and which will give you correct information. We are not trying to take away the intervention from the doctors. That is to be communicated to the doctor, because ultimately after every script which is coming, it will say you please check it with your medical provider. So upgrading is an opportunity, utilizing that data into this RWE, which is also becoming very relevant into this current scenario. That is one opportunity. Challenges will be misuse of the data. That is going to be one challenge, but I'm sure with the kind of infrastructure the companies are having, we will overcome. Keeping patient for a longer time on your app, that is something which everyone should work upon, because that is the biggest hook. No matter if you make a world-class app, and if after some time, if your patients are not staying longer on that, it is going to be a challenge. So we have to work upon how do we fix this problem that they are staying for longer.
Got it.
That's what the adherence you mean to say. And there comes the role of this patient-centric initiatives. And in fact, even I read somewhere, this Deloitte Insights also, 2040, I think the patients will be the one who will be taking care of these decisions in the healthcare. So yeah, of course, patient-centric initiatives, I think it will have a great scope.
That's great. And I think with this, and because we are running a little bit late, people will have a chance to interact during a coffee break in a bit. But having said that, I think just to summarize, we did hear a lot about what is at a larger level it means to the organization, what kind of KPIs, what kind of top management buy-in is needed, and what can drive that buy-in as well. And at a ground level, how do you think about taking those insights and involving different departments and delivering these patient-centric initiatives through the HCPs and in a very compliant manner as well? How the regulatory framework might evolve 5 years down the line, how the patient-centric and the data can be used for making everything better, like the real-world evidence that was spoken about. So I do want to thank the panelists. I really appreciate Girdhar sir, you stepping in, and Madhuri as well as Viral. We do appreciate this, and at the same time, let's conclude on this. Yeah. Thank you. Thanks.
I must say that today's discussion has certainly shown us that after all, patient is the center point of all healthcare efforts, and we continuously commit to work in the best interests of our patients. Mr. Shailendra Tripathi would be here to felicitate the panelists and our moderator.